Deep inside this untouched forest, I found the perfect place to build something completely invisible, an underground survival shelter built entirely from scratch.
A strong shelter begins with careful planning. Every measurement I made today would determine whether this underground home could survive for years. Every shelter begins with a single shovelful of earth. The deeper I dug, the closer this hidden underground home became to reality.
The entrance was only the beginning. Now the real challenge started, carving a hidden tunnel that would lead to my underground shelter.
With every bucket of soil I removed, the shelter became more than just a tunnel. It was finally beginning to feel like a real underground home. A shelter is only as strong as the feeling was the most important step before turning this tunnel into a safe underground home. A survival shelter should never attract attention. By hiding the entrance beneath the forest floor, it became almost impossible to find. For the first time, I wasn't sleeping under the stars. I was sleeping beneath them, inside a shelter built entirely by my own hands. One room wasn't enough. If I wanted this shelter to support long-term survival, it needed space for food, tools, and supplies. Nature doesn't always follow your plans. Instead of fighting the mountain, I decided to work with it. Sometimes a shelter can only protect you if you can breathe inside it. Fresh air was just as important as strong walls and a solid roof. A survival shelter isn't just a place to hide. It has to be comfortable enough to live in, organized enough to depend on, and strong enough to last for years.
Now I needed a way to cook without filling the shelter with smoke. A proper cooking area and safe ventilation would make this place much more practical.
Water would be essential if I ever had to stay here for several days. I wanted a simple system that could collect rain while keeping the shelter hidden.
The real test wasn't how the shelter looked on a sunny day. It was whether it could keep me safe when the weather turned against me. The storm found one weak point, but that's exactly why you test a shelter. I fixed the problem before a few drops could become a serious leak. Outside, the storm was relentless. Down here, everything was calm, dry, and warm. This was the moment I knew the shelter was finally doing its job.
The storm showed me exactly where the shelter needed improvement. After 4 days of work, I wasn't just building a shelter anymore. I was making it ready for whatever the wilderness could bring. Before calling it finished, I checked everything twice. A survival shelter has to be more than comfortable. It has to be dependable when you need it most. After 4 days of digging, building, repairing, and testing, there was only one thing left to do: spend a full night inside the shelter I had built from scratch. I woke up to something I hadn't expected: complete silence. After a full night underground, every major system had worked exactly as planned. 4 days of digging turned this empty patch of forest into something I never imagined: a complete underground shelter, hidden beneath the trees and built entirely from scratch. Building the shelter changed this small part of the forest, so leaving it clean was just as important as building it. When I leave, I want nature to look almost exactly as I found it. 5 days ago, this was just an empty patch of forest. Now, hidden beneath my feet, there was a shelter I could return to whenever the wilderness demanded it.
From the surface, you'd never know it was here. Hidden beneath the forest floor is a complete shelter, quiet, dry, and ready whenever it is needed.
A shelter isn't truly finished when construction ends. It's finished when you know you could return months later and still depend on it. From up here, nothing had changed. The forest had hidden my shelter completely, and that was exactly how I wanted it. I came here to build a shelter from nothing. I left with something much more valuable: a place hidden in the wilderness, built with my own hands and left with respect for the forest around it. Before leaving for good, I wanted to make sure the forest had the final word. The shelter would remain hidden, but nature around it would remain exactly where it belonged. Hidden beneath the trees, I came here to build something from nothing, and I leave knowing it can stand on its own.